I enjoyed this one. Seeing Josh Allen get molested.
Literally had his hands in his pants. Oh my gosh. Dude, that's not menacing. It's just a wet willy. Oh my gosh. One of the freakiest locker rooms of all time. All right. We can move on.
What's your
I just thought, to set the
oh
mood.
yeah, what's your favorite or not favorite, what's the name that you're going to be using for fantasy? What's your current one? Are you going to change it?
No, I think I don't know if I want to say it out loud.
Oh boy. Is ESPN
To be honest,
is the
but I'll keep
ESPN
it.
fantasy app even going to allow you to put it in there?
Well, it's already my name, and I had to change some letters to numbers to fudge the system.
Oh my gosh. All right, fun. We love that.
What's yours? Can you say
Uh,
it?
I haven't decided yet. I have to brainstorm. I mean, the Arthur Smith hate gimmick is good, but like I need a good gimmick. Like I need a new one.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be something. I mean, it could be Christian Wilkins related, but I feel like I
Yeah.
got to go a bit more niche.
Mine is low-key Christian Wilkins related, but
We'll leave it there.
you don't remember? You're in
I
the
know,
league.
but I don't keep the app on my phone, so I delete it every day, like until like 2 days before
Oh.
the draft. So I haven't seen it in forever.
Okay. Speaking of which, we are 2 days from our draft.
Oh, we're doing. Oh, that's this
I don't
Tuesday
remember.
at 8?
Yeah.
Cool. Man, I have to read.
I don't remember.
Man.
How did you place last year? Do you remember?
I don't remember because I play in 2 leagues every year. It's this one and then one
Yeah.
with my college buddies, and I like consistently win first or second place in that one because I'm good. But we'll just throw that out there, ladies. Yeah, please.
Oh my gosh! If you're looking for a fantasy champion,
I can make all your wildest
Look no
fantasies
further.
come true.
whoa, that was smooth, Jonathan.
Thank you.
I won last year, so that means I'm going to be picking last in this league.
Is that how we're doing it? We're setting it based on previous year's draft order?
Yeah, I think that's how it. I'm pretty sure that's how I said it. Yeah.
Fun. Well, that'll be good. One of these years, when we need to narrow it, get 8 guys and
Yeah.
start a perpetual league,
Like a
like
a
a dynasty.
league,
I've
yeah.
never done that, which has always been a shame.
Me
It would
either.
be fun to start that.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Maybe we could even talk about.
I'm sure we could get
I mean,
some guys.
we still have like 4 weeks, little less than 4 weeks until
Yeah.
the season. We could maybe research and set that up. That wouldn't be impossible.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad at all. Anyway, welcome to Two Down Territory.
Oh yeah, welcome.
We're going to be talking about the biggest fallers and risers of the upcoming season. I think it should be a fun one. Probably going to piss some people off, but who cares? We're just 2 guys talking ball.
Yeah. Well, and if it does piss you off, it's just because the truth hurts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, though, some fans are going to be pretty excited about what you have to say about their team.
Fair.
So.
It's true.
Should be a
That's
good one.
true. We do need to hit some of the news that's going along around the
Sure.
league. Mainly just trade requests. It's trade request season right now. I don't know if you got the
It
memo, but so we have Terry McLaurin and Micah Parsons both requesting trades, and these are kind of 2 completely different situations. One of them seems like a complete leverage move, and the Micah Parsons one, even though when we get into more detail, we can explain how he's still almost assuredly going to be on the Cowboys, feels like an actual
Yeah.
rift between the player and the team.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that we've kind of talked about this independently before, but the Terry McLaurin one seems like like, I guess you could say like under the table agent leaked it to Adam Schefter or whatever, and as like a leverage play, where the one with Micah Parsons was totally personal. He wrote out like an entire essay about how he didn't
I
want to be
ain't
on the
reading all
Cowboys, how he
that,
felt
pal.
disrespected. I'm not reading that essay. Um, but yeah, no, the tensions I think are high. He is still reporting to training camp and like doing all of that stuff, but
That's why it's kind of,
it's just,
yeah.
it's what the Cowboys do.
And that's what, because this is what the Cowboys do, right? I mean, this is every
Yeah.
single time they wait until the last. I mean, they literally made Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback in the NFL less than an hour before kickoff of week one. Like,
Right. I forgot about that. You're
so
right.
they will wait till the last possible second. Micah Parsons will be signed. He will be playing week one, but they're going to be paying him more money than they needed to, or they'll cave in some other manner. It causes unnecessary
Mhm.
tension in the locker room. Like it's silly. The Cowboys do silly things, which I hate because I want to actually believe in the Cowboys because I'm not a Cowboys fan whatsoever, obviously, but I'm in the weird minority of people where I think they're the laughing stock of the league, and I'm like it gets to a certain point where it's like if you're the team in your conference that it's been the longest amount of time that you've made it to your conference
Yeah.
championship game, like if you like you're not like I just feel bad for you. I want you to be good,
Yeah, I get it. I'm still a Cowboys hater, so I'm not necessarily a fan of them signing Micah
which is
Parsons.
fair. Well, here's an interesting question. What team do you think actually has a realistic shot of snagging Micah Parsons in a trade?
There's there's not a lot for sure. Um yeah, there's really not. I think that a sneaky team could be like maybe like the Rams. I don't know what kind of assets they could give up. Really, I'm just throwing them out there just because they also have a lot of money,
Well,
right?
they
Like
have
they are
they
rich
have
enough to
the
be able to like
assets.
you know,
That's not a actually
yeah,
terrible pick. Really the only question would be like obviously it would be insane, but are you almost overspending on your pass rush with Jared Verse and Micah Parsons? But also, that would be
yeah.
horrifying to play against.
No, that would like that would shoot them up in terms of, I think both of us already kind of consider them contenders, but like then they really would be solidified in that
If it
tier
was, I
for sure.
if there was I don't know how the actual numbers, the assets would have worked out, but if it
Well,
was a magic snap of the fingers and week one, Micah Parsons is playing for the Rams, and I knew that throughout the season, Matthew Stafford would be healthy, I would consider them to
yeah.
be a top two favorite to win the NFC without a
Yeah.
doubt.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I think that obviously staffers, and we can even talk about that because that's not necessarily news, but there's been some updates recently about that whole situation. He hasn't been practicing. He's been,
I mean, he's old. He's an
in
old
contact with a
man.
lot of specialized doctors. Well, and not only is he old, but watch the tape and you'll see the type of beating he took out in Detroit.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, what was it? Was it last season that he missed time, or maybe he missed time last season, but within the last 2 years, he had like a spine contusion. Like the man's
Yeah,
back is like some guys, it's like their knees. For
it is messed
Stafford,
up.
it's his back. Like his back is screwed. Uh,
Which is not, it's like the worst case scenario because like your back is involved in literally every move that
Exactly.
you
Like for
make.
a quarterback, you would rather have your knees be gone than your back for sure. I mean, I like
100%. Oh my
the
gosh, I keep
pain that
yawning.
Stafford fights through during an NFL game is probably
It's
beyond
ridiculous.
imagining.
He's getting the shots for sure. You think Aaron Rodgers is his plug? That's
Maybe there's
secret.
like an old man
Steph-
quarterback group chat where they're just all telling each other like the drugs that they're taking to be able to play a single snap of football. That is crazy. Because Tom Brady kind of broke our brains with what he was able to do, but even
Yeah.
still, just like a 38 to 42-year-old man like going out to play NFL football
Ridiculous.
as a quarterback is insane. And they're throwing to
ridiculous.
like 21-year-olds. Like
Yeah.
they're young enough to be their kids.
Like literally Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay are like similar in age.
They're I mean,
Like-
Stafford and McVay are closer in age than Stafford is to Puka.
For sure.
I mean, which is wild to think about.
I'm looking this up.
Yeah, fact check me. Snopes fact checked me right now.
So Matthew Stafford is 37
He'll be turning 38 this season, I believe.
and Sean McVay is 39.
McVay's not even
They're only
40.
2 years
I thought McVay was.
I guess
I thought
not.
McVay was 41.
No, yeah, he was born in 86.
Oh wow, I thought McVay was 41. I thought he was like 40, 41. Man, he's not even. Think about that.
And Puka Nacua is 23. Yeah.
No, well, obviously, yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't realize Sean. I thought he was like 30. How old was he when he was hired?
He was like 32, 31, 32.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was
Yeah,
an
that's insane.
insane
Anyway.
move. I mean, turned out to be one of perhaps the greatest ownership decisions ever to make a hire like that to decide.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and he's also obviously so brilliant that like you were never going to prevent him. Like he was always going to end up as an NFL head coach no matter what. But think about this right now. Sean McVay is 39 right now. He could be coaching in the league for at minimum another 25 years. Like he could be an NFL
That'd
head.
be
He could be an
wild.
NFL head coach for like the longest cumulative amount of time ever of anyone,
For sure, without a doubt.
which is wild. Like
Yeah,
think about like you got
that's crazy.
young Sean
That's crazy.
McVay right now. Think about like 20 years when you've got like old man McVay and all of the knowledge that's built up in his head. Like you're building a supercomputer of a head coach.
Literally.
Ugh.
Oh my gosh. Is Sean McVay the Barack Obama of head coaches?
What could possibly
Because
be?
they're both young. They were both young. No, I thought that was an easy connection.
I get it now. I did not make that whatsoever. I was like, what are you talking about? It's because I'm not, I'm
Oh
not
my gosh.
colorblind. I immediately made it a racial thing, and I was like, what?
What the heck? Well, normally when we make those types of comparisons, it is a racial thing. So
You're checking my
This time
biases.
I am. Anyway, you want to talk about the biggest fallers and risers?
Yeah. Who you want to go first? Tell me about your biggest riser, Adam. I want to hear.
Okay. Yeah. Let me get my notes. Basically, my biggest riser is the Bears. And I don't even really know if I need my notes for this because I think it's really simple. It all just centers around the moves that they made in order to maximize Caleb Williams, starting with Ben Johnson, moving to the offensive line, and then getting the appropriate weapons in order to make sure and kind of solidify that Caleb Williams is set up the best that he can be for success. And honestly, like that's kind of the premise of it.
My guess would be that my initial reaction to you having them as your biggest riser is it's kind of the Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson X factor. And I know because the offensive line is a huge part of that, but it's like if Caleb Williams is not who we think he is, then it's kind of like doomed from the start. So you're almost kind of presupposing that Caleb Williams will, with a better offensive line and a better system, be that guy. I'm not like guaranteed he's, a franchise player, but
Yeah.
as much as we can see from a guy in his second year, you expect him to be that guy.
Yeah, and I think that really is just based on all the information that we currently have, who do I think is going to not necessarily just have the biggest record jump in 2025, but more just like what team do we think is going to move higher in the ranks in the quickest amount of time?
Both in
And
terms of
obviously this does
record and
presuppose.
perception, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that both, like, obviously that does presuppose that Caleb Williams is going to be um this franchise quarterback. I think that any team that you would pick that we would expect to go from like really bad like the Bears were last seasons to potentially really good, starting to make playoffs and maybe even getting into contention territory, all of those teams that we would say realistically have that shot already have like a quarterback that has that potential, and then we have to just assume that they're going to reach that
Yeah.
potential. And then at that point it's just like, is the front office making the moves to maximize him, and do we think under that situation he's actually going to be successful? And so that's kind of why I picked the Bears. I think that Caleb Williams still is that generational, maybe not generational, because I feel like the media kind of hyped him up a little bit, but still that,
I
incredible
mean,
prospect
his
that we saw.
Heisman year
And
at
last year,
USC was pretty generational.
it was.
The
I
word was
remember.
apt.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about we were watching Caleb Williams play college football. I don't even know if you remember this, but we were looking at him, and it just looked like he was just so far ahead in terms of development of every single person that he was playing against. Like the defense, even like his wide receivers, like he just stood out like a sore thumb. And it wasn't even that he was necessarily like, it wasn't like he was being Superman, which, obviously he was a lot of the time. It was just like like the small details of his game, like the quickness, the escapability from the pocket, the ability to make really like any throw he wanted to at no matter which
Yeah.
direction that his body or his hips were turned towards. And so if he can capture even just a small fraction of those skill sets, and really, it's if Ben Johnson can capture just a small fraction of those
That's
skill
the
sets
key. Yeah.
within a system that I think, what is it, Ryan Poles, their
Yep.
GM, has established, then I think that this can be a really successful, not just season, but like 5 to 10 year period for the Bears.
This isn't even like throwing a monkey wrench into what you're saying. It's just like a genuine curiosity that I hadn't really thought of. I wonder what Ben Johnson is feeling having a guy that physically capable, because like I've made a lot of jokes over the last couple of weeks about Jared Goff, but I say this just as an objective fact, not as a Goff hate. Goff can do nowhere near physically what Caleb Williams has the ability to do. I'm not saying that right now Caleb Williams is better than Jared Goff, but I'm saying it's two completely different styles. And so when you think of that Ben Johnson system, it's a combination of like, how are the two going to meet in the middle with each other? Because it's something that we have no real prior data to show how it would look. Like, it will be entirely new.
Yeah. I hope, and this is not a comparison in terms of skill set, experience, or scheme, but I hope that it looks like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid within the last few seasons, where Patrick Mahomes' like special ability to make something out of nothing is only used as a backup, and the scheme is what is creating the advantages. Like, I think that the best case scenario for Caleb Williams is for him to first just be able to be a pocket passer.
I don't disagree with
Because
you. I completely see the vision that you're laying out. The one kind of like the X factor to that is your screen just gave a thumbs up.
I wonder if that's going to show up on the record.
What?
Why does it do? You
No,
try.
I think that's because of your phone. Like I think that's like an iPhone feature. That's
so awesome.
incredible.
Yeah, I
Thumbs
think it
up
is
to the
too.
camera.
Anyway,
No, the X
yeah.
factor of that Mahomes Andy Reid scheme is one, not just like Patrick Mahomes' supernatural abilities,
Yeah,
but it's actually the foundation of it is proper decision making, which Mahomes over the last like
absolutely.
3 seasons, like everyone's going to have turnovers, but for the most part, when he's on, has perfected knowing how to take care of the ball, situationally what to do.
Yes.
And so to expect that of a second year quarterback would be kind of difficult. So I agree with what you're saying, but I almost wonder if, from Ben Johnson's perspective, if he's thinking long term, because he at this point, like it's his first season, he doesn't have to worry about job security right now. Like the Caleb
No.
Williams situation, if they have another poor year, will get bad and loud. But Ben Johnson is fine right now, obviously. I
Yeah.
wonder if it's gonna be like a full run and gun where he's trying to like instill confidence in Caleb and just being like unleash it, and it's almost like uh, one of those things where it's like you're accepted, like Brett Favre-esque, where it's like I'm baking in
Yeah.
turnovers into this, like we just want to see what you can do against NFL defenses.
The thing that I'm nervous about with that, though, is that I think that last year, under the lack of discipline and solid scheme that Caleb Williams, was, or like that served the foundation for Caleb Williams' rookie season, he fell into a lot of bad habits that are common with his style of quarterback
Yes.
play. And so the reason why I mentioned this concept of like, I hope that, like if I were Ben Johnson, my strategy would be more to let's just establish him as a competent quarterback that isn't risking it all in order to get 3 yards on 3rd and 20.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, let's just let him play normal NFL football at a good rate with a good O line, decent weapons, and a solid scheme, and kind of reverse the damage that was done in his rookie season. And then from there, we can kind of, throughout the season, obviously, like we can kind of build in these plays. And that's how I feel like they should, because I understand your point, but what I'm nervous about with that is I just feel like it's hard to plan for those types of
Well,
things.
that's fair.
You know what I mean?
I don't mean
And
like
the reason why
I don't mean where it's like it's constantly off the rails. I just mean
yeah.
I mean much more routine deep shots, like designed runs, like something where it's like the
100%.
physical capabilities that a Caleb Williams would have, utilizing those to a far greater extent than whatever. I don't even know if you could call what last year was a scheme. Like,
Yeah,
but you
true.
you mentioned it, and I'll make the transition for you because I'm sure you're needing to talk about it. The offensive line, if it's not better, it means nothing. But I think the thing that I believe the most about the Bears offseason is they're upgrading the O-line.
100%. They already have 2 solid young tackles, Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright. They both, according to PFF, finished 22nd or top 22 in terms of offensive line grades for their position. Then they also picked up Joe Thuney, Drew Dalman, and Jonah Jackson to really solidify the problem of that O-line last year, which was the interior. And so I think that that also is going to solidify a run game with DeAndre Swift, who I don't think is some exceptional running back, but I think that he's competent enough with the right scheme and a good offensive line that he can get production, which is just, I think, going to take the pressure off Caleb Williams in the late down situations, or even like, second down, where it's like, okay, instead of having to get, 10, 11 yards or 15, because I just took a sack, I just have to get, 3 yards, right? Like those types of things. I just think that with this offensive line, that it just allows you, and this is not something I hear talked about a lot, but the power of having a good offensive line is that the offense is able to control the pace of the game. Because when you can create on first down those types of advantages where now it's second and 6 or second and 5 instead of the first play just going nowhere, like that just creates huge advantages. I think a great example of that is the Ravens offense and kind of how they play, where obviously Lamar Jackson has developed into this quarterback that can sling the ball, that can pass it well, but it really is that run threat that allows them to control the pace of the game. It's why historically, before Lamar Jackson had that ability, the Ravens were known for giving up big leads because they would establish these leads. But the problem is when you do that, you are playing at such a slow pace that it makes it hard. I guess like as soon as the other offense, starts really picking it up, then you're not scoring quickly enough to really stay ahead of it. Where it's like, on the other hand, though, when they just established a lead, they were just able to control the pace of the game, if that makes sense.
No, that entirely makes sense. And I think the hilarious thing about the Bears is that, of course, our newly branded name, Two Down Territory, is kind of a joke because you're never really in two down territory. Sometimes it felt like the Bears actually were, because it's like if they were ever in third down, it would be like 3rd and 20, and you'd be like, we just have to give up at this point. It's like if they didn't pick up the first down on the first 2 plays, the drive was probably going to end.
That was it. It was finished.
So
yeah, exactly.
You are, and it's also with Ben Johnson. It's perhaps the most comparable transition between the Lions offense now going to whatever he's going to do with this Bears personnel are going to be their tight end group, because the Bears have two very, obviously we'll see with Colston Loveland, but Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland, he's going to be able to do a lot of fun stuff with that. And that will be so great for Caleb Williams to have tight end security blankets. There's nothing like, it's like Zach Ertz last year for Jaden Daniels. When you see all of these young quarterbacks, and obviously it's like Mahomes and Kelsey, they've kind of transcended beyond that now, but that's how it was early. To be able to have the security blanket of a tight end is going to be so fantastic, especially when you have an actually competent offensive coordinator who knows how to use tight ends.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, one of the reasons why the tight ends position has evolved so much. Obviously, it correlates directly with the, the more, I guess, gunslinger type quarterbacks and, the way that offenses has evolved to focus primarily on the pass game as opposed to the run game. But the reason why it's so impactful is because it's one of the easiest ways for a passing offense to create advantages, because oftentimes tight ends are able to, obviously win against smaller corners. And if they're fast enough, they're even able to win against linebackers. And so that advantage that is created by having a solid tight end, even though it seems like, obviously they're so impactful, like we see the Travis Kelce's, and even historically we've seen the Tony Gonzalez, and the Gronks and all of those guys. But it just seems like this, as the NFL has progressed, like finally tight ends are starting to be more recognizable. Even last, or was it last draft? No, it's 2 drafts ago, when the Bengals, that was the time where T. Higgins requested a trade. And I was like, we need to trade him and move up to get Brock Bowers. Like, that was what I thought was the best move. And the reason why is because I was saying then we would still have this dynamic ball catching threat, but we obviously wouldn't have to pay him as much in his rookie deal and even further on than a wide receiver, just because the tight end market hasn't really caught up to the hype of how important they are. And so that's one of the reasons why, the Chiefs have been able to do what they've been doing, is because the guy who primarily catches the ball and has that connection with Patrick Mahomes, arguably at the peak of his career, the best pass catcher within the NFL, but wasn't making nearly as much money as wide receivers, even though he was the highest paid tight end. And so it's like, having those tight ends to be able to create advantages is not just good for any offense, but is especially impactful for a Ben Johnson offense where that's like the entire name of the game. Like that's his biggest strength is creating advantages based on situation and personnel grouping. And so, yeah, I think that that's going to be huge. And I think there's a reason why they took Colson Loveland, who a lot of people thought that was a reach and wasn't the right pick.
Yeah, and I don't consider myself nearly at this point to be an NFL draft expert, so I can't comment on that. But it did certainly seem like it was a Ben Johnson move, and so even if it was a
Yeah.
reach or a stretch or whatever you want to say, it felt like I at least see the coherent offensive vision behind it, which is more than I
Yes.
could say
Absolutely.
about some picks where it's like, yeah, the guy is better as a raw talent, but what's the actual vision here? And so, yeah, I mean,
Right.
so we talked about the Bears, the Caleb Williams, the Ben Johnson, the offensive line. Is the defense going to be any better? Is actually a question that I didn't think I would be asking going into last season.
Yeah.
But that defense also significantly underperformed.
It did. And I think that that was just part of like a whole entire just like crappy culture
Yes.
that was established. And I think that if there's one guy that can come in and fix that culture, especially on the defensive end, it would be their new defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, who obviously ran a tight ship with the Super Bowl championship Saints team and with, Sean Payton as the head coach. Obviously, things kind of imploded on the Saints when Dennis Allen was eventually promoted to the head coaching position. I think that is it's more about like correlation and not causation, where the whole cap space situation was really the bubble started to burst. Let's just say that. And so Dennis Allen was kind of treated unfairly. Like when you look at the roster, it's one of those things where it's like, what could anyone do? Derek Carr is the quarterback, but, no shade to Derek Carr, but
somewhat shade.
I
to
think
Derek
that in terms
Carr.
of like a little shade to Derek Carr, but I think that as a whole, he is much more well equipped to be a defensive coordinator, and I think that they clearly have the defensive pieces to
The
be
personnel
at least
they
like an
have, for
average
sure,
to
yeah.
potentially top 10 defense in the league.
My one thing that comes to mind with Dennis Allen is because I just Googled to see exactly. He's 52 years old, which is crazy because I still think of him as that like pre Sean McVay. He was actually like the young guy. Like he was hired. He was the Raiders coach for one season when he had like just turned 40. Like he was 40 years old when he was hired, which was young before now we have this explosion of young guys. So to have that older veteran established previous head coach as Ben Johnson, a first-time head coach, is going to be really important. So overall, they weren't my number one pick, but the Bears are reasonably right in the contention to be one of the biggest risers. Now, ultimately, it all kind of falls on if you had to rank on a scale of 1 to 10 your faith in Caleb Williams, what would you say it is?
I think that given this context, I would say like pretty high, like a 7 or an 8.
If it's like an 8, I'm probably at like a 6.5. Like I have more faith than I don't. So like it's a passing grade for me. So I'm like I think I'm like 3/4 of the way there where you are.
Yeah, but obviously he's only had one season and it wasn't particularly a success.
No, fair, and I'm not
sense.
even fully basing it off of the rookie tape because as we talked about just a moment ago, but also even more extensively outside of this, I compare it to the Trevor Lawrence rookie year where it wasn't fully to the same extent, but it's just kind of like you got to throw it out the window, man. It was just a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
I'm more so basing it off of like the archetype of a Caleb Williams, where it's like really the only person we have to compare it to is Mahomes. But the problem is that Mahomes wasn't a number one overall pick. He wasn't a number one overall prospect. A lot of people thought the Chiefs reached to get, like, he was raw coming out of college, where it's like Williams
Right.
was perceived as, like, obviously you're a rookie, you have room to grow, but like a more finished product. It's just an archetype of quarterback that we've potentially, both on the context of who he is as a quarterback and the situation that he was put into as a result of his draft status, it's uncharted territory, which for me makes me
Yeah.
skeptical because I have nothing else to
Sure.
go off of.
Right.
But I'll go ahead and talk
Right.
about my riser. We can go ahead and
Sure.
talk about the New England Patriots, and I'm actually gonna pull up on my phone, and Adam, I'm gonna have you play a little game.
Let's do
I'm
it.
going to be looking at the Patriots schedule for this year, and you're going to just gut reaction, like 5 seconds at most, tell me win or
Okay.
loss. Okay?
So we're going to be predicting the Patriots 2025 season.
Do we always got to have the intros, man.
Yeah, gotta. Well, this could be a good clip. You never know.
Let's see here. Home for the Raiders.
Win.
At the Dolphins.
Loss.
Home for the Steelers.
Loss.
Home for the Panthers.
Win.
At the Bills.
Loss.
At the Saints.
Win.
At the Titans. Home
Win.
for the Browns.
Win.
Home for the Falcons.
I'm gonna go loss.
At the Bucks.
Loss.
Home for the Jets.
Win.
At the Bengals.
Loss.
Home for the Giants.
Let's go win.
Home for the Bills.
Loss.
At the Ravens.
Loss.
At the Jets.
Win. Let's say we're sweeping the
Home
Jets.
for the Dolphins.
I'm gonna say
Okay.
loss. So that's 8
So you
wins.
got 8 wins out of that. So,
But there were some that I don't feel good about. But
which is entirely fair. It's a gut reaction. But the point being of that exercise, if you were playing along at home, you could have come out with 7. You also could have come out with like 9. If we meet in the middle and we say 8, that's a 4-win improvement from last season. So it's a combination of both the schedule that they have, playing a last place schedule where their opposing divisions that they're playing are the NFC South and the AFC North. Obviously, the AFC North is tough, but at the same time, the Browns are a mess, and the Steelers, who knows how that's going to look. So,
no idea.
You're looking at a situation where even with just a moderate amount of improvement, which hopefully I'm about to sell you on, Adam, because I think that there was at least a modicum of improvement, then this is a team that purely based off of record and also the vibes and the perception of the team is actually going to be positive for the first time really in about 3 seasons post like Mac Jones's rookie year under the Belichick-led Patriots. Which is remember Mac Jones, Adam?
Is he still on the
I
Jaguars?
believe so. I'm actually curious. I don't know if what are your opinions on Mac? Like, were you a Mac Jones believer at any point?
I hate him. Oh, I hated him. I hate it because he's dirty.
Oh,
And he has been since he was a rookie.
No, he is underrated, dirtiest player in the league, Mac Jones.
He could be. Well, and also, I don't know. I just never really liked him. Although the content, like I've used the video of him like walking up when he got drafted.
Just your first impression of him, and that's it from there.
But yeah. Let me see if I can find it. I don't see it. I wish I could pull it up because it's so funny.
The moment that I knew that the Mac Jones era was never going to work out in New England was the game against the Bills where he threw 4 passes and they still won the game. That was when I knew that it was over for Mac Jones.
Okay, wait, I found it.
All right, I'm excited.
I found it. My favorite Mac Jones moment is the Raiders play when Chandler Jones just knocked the crap out of him.
One of the greatest NFL highlights of all time.
I got to share my screen. It was incredible. Okay, here we go. This is him making the announcement. Why is he like waddling?
Why are his fists clenched like that?
It looks like he's power walking. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that looks like the stance of someone who's like walking with like 3 elderly old ladies, like at 6 a.m. in the morning across a residential neighborhood.
Do you think he planned it? Do you think he like in his living room practiced his draft walk? He absolutely did.
I don't know.
Because I don't think you naturally walk like that.
Why is he moving his hips so much?
It's kind of crazy. It's making me feel a certain type of way, Mac. McCorkle Jones.
Mac Jones.
That's his name. McCorkle.
Yeah.
Where was I?
No idea, dude.
No.
You were just talking about
the Patriots. No, enough improvements will be made, and we can start. We can start at the top. We can talk about Mike Vrabel. They bring him in. He is in that huge. I mean, he's a huge man. It's that same
he is.
Dan Campbell-esque archetype, leader of men, all that stuff. But obviously also a very competent X's and O's guy, someone who can come in and sort of culturally reset everything that's been going on in Foxborough for the last 4 years, really even longer than that. But he also, I mean, he's an above 500 coach for his career, which when you throw in the context of that he was coaching the Tennessee Titans, that's a pretty impressive feat. The fact that he was able to win 2 division titles, make the playoffs 3 times, make an AFC championship game, win the AFC in the regular season, and be a number 1 seed. He's a proven coach. I have very minimal questions about Vrabel. The real only thing is how soon it will take effect. And I think it'll take effect even sooner than some people might expect. Also,
for sure,
Josh McDaniels. He's good.
The legend himself, dude. He's a great offensive
He's a fantastic. Pretty bad head coach.
Horrendous, in fact.
Maybe one of the worst of all time. It's like him and I mean, Urban Meyer has everybody beat in recent memory, but it was bad.
True. Brandon Staley is worse.
You hate Brandon Staley.
Is definitely worse. He was terrible. There's nothing to like.
Fair. Oh, okay, let's. No, I can't say that because that's like an actionable threat. Let's just. So I was gonna do like you have a gun with 2 bullets and there's 3 guys.
One of them is Hitler.
Well, I was setting up for that joke, but also, who were start, bench, and cut? Arthur Smith, Brandon Staley, and Josh McDaniels as head coaches.
I'm starting Josh McDaniels. I'm benching Arthur Smith, and I'm cutting Brandon Staley. With not even a question. Brandon Staley somehow was both bad at decision making and bad in terms of X's and O's. Like, normally it's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's a good defensive coordinator who then became a head coach. And even if he was a bad head coach, he can still at least be a good coordinator, like Dennis Allen, like Josh McDaniels. Brandon Staley wasn't good at either. And like now he's going to be the Saints defensive coordinator. And that is one of the, we've talked about the Saints a lot and how we don't think they're going to be that good. And a lot of Saints fans are like, no, the roster is good. Like, what if we stay healthy? Yada, 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 yada. And I'm like, don't forget that Brandon Staley is on that coaching staff whispering in Kellen Moore's ears, go for it. Don't go for it. Just making all of the wrong decisions. Like, no, he's
just
terrible.
for my own personal amusement, because I hadn't seen a photo of him in so long, just Googled him. He looks like a mutated elf. Like, just what a guy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, now
what
I
a guy,
to.
Brandon Staley. But no, Josh McDaniels
Brandon
is
Staley.
a good OC and should legitimately be able to work with Drake May. And part of why I'm talking about them as one of my biggest risers is that, as funny as it is, I actually don't think that Drake May needs to improve that much from where he was last season. The offensive line just needs to be not the worst. Adam, do you know what their PFF grades were last season? They were 31st in pass block and 32nd in run block. So their pass blocking was really overachieving.
It was the highlight. It was the highlight of their line.
No excuses for Drake May. It was actually the strength of their offensive line.
It was oh my gosh.
Ramondre Stevenson was having a heck of a time.
He was struggling. The only team that offensive line bullied was the Bengals in like the first week of the season. It's because all they did was zone reads. And like that's the only play they can run. And for some reason, I guess the Bengals just didn't have the personnel to be able to stop that.
But the point is I won't even get into the trash talk and the previous names that were on that offensive line. All that needs to be said is at most positions they were ranked in the bottom quarter percentile of all qualifying players at their position in the league. Very bad. And as a group, they were actively, which is almost hard to even conceive of. They were worse as the sum of their parts than they were individually. Like there was no power of teamwork. Like, individually we're all very bad or below average, but as a unit we can thrive
together.
No, they were somehow worse together. they
they like fed off.
The Patriots line was like the anti-Pacers. No, but obviously they made a bunch of improvements. They bring Morgan Moses in, who at worst is average, and PFF would rank him slightly above average. Of course, they take Will Campbell. Thank you, Adam. Will Campbell, the number one tackle taken off the board with the 4th overall pick, who is quite raw as a prospect, which even by rookie standards, he'll be a little raw. The bright side to that, though, is when you're starting from the literal bottom, because the only 2 units that were in the conversation for the worst O-line in the league were the Patriots and the Texans. So when you're building from the bottom, Will Campbell, unless it's just an absolute bust, which would be really unfortunate, is going to be an improvement. This line is not suddenly going to jump to be an above average unit. It's not nearly as high of a jump as the Bears had. But whatever trash talk gets said, because it gets thrown around a lot about the Bears O-line last season, Drake May, it's almost, and we've talked about this, it's almost impossible to study the tape of him last season. Because
Yeah.
there's not even like a drive where it's like, he like there wasn't even like 5 plays in a row where you got to see a sequence of Drake May play football and not get molested.
It's like the equivalent. It's like the equivalent of that drill where you have the trash cans filling in for the offensive line. Like that's what it was, dude.
They were subway turnstiles.
Yeah, like I think that they probably they could have got allowed the amount of pressure of the 20th best offensive line if they had like a 3-second delay. Like if the defensive line had to wait for 3 seconds before they could rush the pass, I still think that they would have ranked bottom 20 in terms of their
I'm just
O-line
imagining that being like a rule.
It was terrible.
All the pass rushers are standing like straight up and are just kind of 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and then just charging, and Drake May instantly gets destroyed.
Just immediately.
It didn't matter.
Immediately.
And so that's why when you you can look at the box score and be like, what do people see in Drake May? It's like, no, man, you had there's so much nuance to what tape Drake May put out last season that I'm not even baking in that he's going to massively have some sort of leap, because I just believe that he will be competent enough with a slightly more competent offensive line, a new head coach, a defense that should be solid enough, and then having one of it's got to be top 3 easiest schedules in the NFL.
Yeah.
Unless things, and it always happens somewhat where teams an injury happens or a team is completely different. But we say that in one way, it could also break the other way. You could have I'm a Josh Allen hater or whatever, knock on wood. I hope it doesn't happen, obviously. But say Josh Allen gets injured and all of a sudden those two, I was being serious. I don't want Josh Allen to get injured.
Right.
I literally knocked on wood. Don't put that on me. I will not have that.
All right,
when Josh Allen gets horrifically injured this season, I will not have that be blamed on me. But stuff like that can happen where the schedule can actually get even easier. Yeah. And so, I mean,
yeah.
And if my point being is that if Drake May is just competent and only slightly improves off last season based on the other improvements the team has made, they can be an 8-win team. If Drake May actually takes a leap, they can be 10-7 and making a wild card spot. So that's my Patriots case.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that the only pushback is really just the question of the offensive line, because even though I think they could move up 10 spots, that's still, the 21st best offensive line in the league. And, that could definitely have some problems. I think at that point, then we would have to see some development from Drake.
Yes.
But if they can, if Will Campbell can develop quicker than most left tackles, and some of the other tertiary pieces that they got can step up. And really, I think it's just about if, Josh McDaniels can just fix up that scheme and Vrabel can change the culture and we see guys that actually want to play football on Sunday, I 100% with their schedule think that they can make, a 4 to 5 win jump.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's there's kind of 4 different things at play. It's the Drake May, the O-line, Vrabel, and Josh McDaniels. And it's if 2 of those 4 things coalesce and have an impact, then they're going to win 8 games. Yeah. If 3 or 4 of them coalesce, they could easily be a playoff team this year. And so that's why it's kind of, even though I'm going based somewhat off of vibes, I think just the analytics of like the math of how an NFL team makes a jump, the Patriots are in perhaps the most optimal position to be able to do it.
Sure. Yeah.
So go
Well,
ahead.
and also, yeah, and like even in terms of just like how good they actually are, just because like last year, like, and we've talked about this outside of this, but you know, they should, and even on the podcast actually in previous episodes, how the Bills win the last week of the season. The Bills didn't play any of their starters because their position was locked for the playoffs. So like realistically, they should have been picking first. Like they were the worst team in the league last year.
It was between them and the
Arguably.
Titans. Even though the Titans ended up getting number one and the
Right.
Patriots were picking 4, it was the Patriots and the Titans who were in terms of perception, because the Patriots already had the rookie quarterback, the vibes were slightly higher than it was for the Titans, but they were in the full-on dregs of the league last year. And realistically, if we throw it that last week of the season out and say they were 3-13, because I won't say 3-14 because who knows, but like they're 3-13, all of a sudden you're talking about a team, if they win 8 games, they're 8-9, they're still below 500. That's a 5-win leap, really, which is kind of crazy.
Right. Yeah. Pretty insane. Alrighty. Well, that was fun.
Was it?
Now it's time to get some fans. I mean, I enjoyed myself, but now it's time to get some fans disappointed. We're going to be talking about. We each picked a team that we think is going to regress a little bit next season, and both of us kind of focused more on contenders because we thought that'd be more fun. Obviously, there are like intermediate teams that went like 10-7, like.
Neither of us were going to be like, the Steelers aren't going to make the playoffs this year. Like, cool, man, a fun take. Like, no, we wanted to pick actual teams that were in contention last year, and the majority of people would consider it hot take or hot take adjacent to say that they'll be fallers. But it's one team.
Yeah.
We each had to come up with one team. And Adam, what is your team?
My team is the Commanders, which might be a little bit surprising to a lot of people. Yeah. But I think that one of the biggest reasons why I picked the Commanders is simply just because the sample size is just smaller than a lot of the other teams that we would consider contenders, right? Like if you think about those teams like the Ravens, the Bills, the Eagles, a lot of those teams have been established over the last few years as those are the types of teams that like this could be their year, right? Like if it breaks the right way, if they're able to make that run in the playoffs, like this could be their season. And you know, the Commanders, even going into the playoffs last year, weren't necessarily considered that. And so for me, it's like because of that small sample size, they are the team that I would consider the most likely to regress of any of the teams that we would consider contenders. And I think it's important to know that every year, teams that we would consider contenders end up not really being contenders. Last year, there was 2. It was the 49ers and the Cowboys. And I'm sure if you go throughout NFL history, every year you're going to find a team like that. And so if I were to pick, right, gun to my head, who was the team that last year would be considered contenders and now aren't necessarily considered contenders or fall short of their expectations, it would be the Commanders. The other thing too is that I think that anyone who knows ball and understands where the Commanders are in terms of their timeline would know that like the chances are they're not going to progress past the point that they made it.
Just mathematically.
In like last year. Like they're not going to win. Like, okay, again, Jaden Daniels is amazing.
That's
maybe
the thing that I wanted to note really quickly is to be clear, this is more of an indictment potentially on the state of that roster, which is still a compliment to Jaden Daniels.
100%.
Because you and I both, if we don't have him in the tier 1 of quarterbacks, would have him in a tier between the 1 and the 2. Like he's in like tier 1.5. So this isn't Jaden Daniels hate from you.
You just had a stroke. He's like, yeah.
I'm having a heat stroke, man. Dude,
My bad. I'm
the
sorry.
heat wave's over, but it's finally just hitting me. The weather's so we can just be
Drink
old
some
men
water or
really
something.
quick. The weather's been so nice these last couple days. I've had coffee. I've had coffee.
really has.
Do you want to know what I did when I woke up this morning? I made myself a French press,
Yes.
made enough for 2 cups. I took my new laptop, my headphones, and I went out onto my porch and I watched all 3.5 hours of The Irishman. I watched a 3.5 hour movie on my porch from 9 a.m. to 12:30.
Oh my
It was a
god.
beautiful day. But Jaden
really
Daniels.
was, though. Anyway, Jaden Daniels is incredible, and like obviously, if he has another season where he can kind of break the boundaries of what we think that a mobile quarterback can do, then obviously, yeah, that this whole entire, I guess, case that I'm building kind of goes out the window. But in terms of just like where their roster is at, and the reason why we rank them so highly is because last year their roster wasn't particularly good compared to, at the very least, any of the teams that were in the championship games.
It's not even
and
close.
even if you include like, well, and you could probably like actually
Even
let's do
every
this. Like,
team
how
in the
far into
divisional
the
round.
playoffs last year. Yeah, exactly. Like even every team
If
in the
you
divisional round, I
nix,
think
if
you
you
could probably make a
nix
pretty
all
strong
the, if you say
case.
every all 52 players on the roster minus the quarterback, every team that was in the divisional round, I'm probably picking every single roster above Washington's.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the fact that, you know, because of Jaden Daniels' play, they were able to make it to a conference championship is incredible. And I think that he is, you know, the sky's the limit in terms of, you know, his future. But when it comes to the Commanders, I just think based on their timeline, last year they blew past their ceiling, and I don't think it's common. In fact, it's incredibly rare for a team to do that 2 years in a row.
Yeah, in fact, I
And
went
so
ahead and I pulled up the because I thought that that'd be a fun exercise to do really quick to think about uh, the teams that were in the divisional round, close enough to being contenders, or you're 2 wins away from the Super Bowl, however you want to think about it. Or was I able to pull it up? I could have been lying to you.
why?
Okay, Detroit.
Oh,
Yes.
it's not even close.
Kansas City.
Not, yeah, again, not particularly
Houston.
close. I think this one is close,
With
but I would
that
still take
with that-
Houston's roster in terms of their weaponry and their defense.
For me, that's also almost not close. It's closer than like Kansas City and Detroit, but
Yeah.
still, Buffalo.
Again, it's not really
Fair, although I'm actually that one actually might be the closest so far. This is going to be my sneaky.
maybe.
Yeah, it'll be a rare moment for me. Josh Allen praise, where Josh Allen does a lot for that roster. It's not
Yeah.
the greatest. Baltimore.
Yeah. Yeah. But of course it's underhanded Bills diss.
Yes,
So
exactly.
like,
I'm still getting my
let's get
dig
this,
in.
let's get this story straight. Yeah.
Baltimore.
Oh yeah. Come on. It's
Philadelphia, obviously. This one actually, well, no, this is getting into the wild card, but let's go ahead and do it. Green Bay.
This
Much
one
closer.
is close. I still might take Green Bay. That defense does a lot because the Commanders' defense was just.
If
that
you
bad
said it
last
was the
season.
defense with Jair Alexander, then sure. Now that at the time that the
True.
game was being played, I probably would give the slight edge. The Rams, Los
Yeah.
Angeles.
I think that this is.
With how young and talent.
This
with
one
how
might be
young
pretty close
Think
too.
about that. Puka,
But like,
how young
yeah,
that
yeah.
defense is. Because think
Yeah,
about whole.
true,
I mean, I
true.
know. I'll go ahead and spoil it. We can go ahead and end it here. I'll say one last team. Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I actually think Tampa Bay is for sure a more
So
talented roster.
part of it is also just purely from a front office perspective, how old the Commanders are. It's funny
Yeah,
because they have
absolutely.
a one that was a rookie now going into his sophomore season as the quarterback, the supposed face of the franchise now. It they're like the Los Angeles Clippers. Like it's ancient, dude. These guys are bones.
They are. Yeah, no, literally. Like I think the average age of a player on their roster is 27 and a half, which is the
That's
oldest in the league.
ridiculous.
And so, yeah, like, well, and it's not just that, it's also just like how many players are on that roster that are just so impactful. Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Terry McLaurin is 29. I
He'll
think
turn
he's
30
about to
this
turn
season.
30.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler is old. Frankie Louvu, who we've talked about in previous episodes, is up there. I think he's 29. Debo Samuel is getting up there in age. I think a lot of people would consider him past his prime, where it's like these are really important pieces. And, this isn't to predict that next year they're just all going to fall off a cliff. But, can't forget Von Miller. I think he's 36. The point of that is to say that, especially those young, or those young, no, that's the exact opposite of the point I'm trying to make. Those linebackers are just incredibly important to that defense. In fact, they're the bright spot of the defense. And so when we're looking at that, it's like if next year is the year that a 35-year-old Bobby Wagner just runs out of gas,
it's going to be bad.
It's going to be scary for that defense.
Now,
it really is. And then Marshawn Lattimore, who's not old, but like has a lot of injury history, and like, he relative to like cornerback position, but like, you never know. The truth is that the cornerback position is so volatile. You really never know when you're going to get out of a corner year in and year out, but especially one with, a lot of volatility throughout his career, especially related to injuries. It's just one of those things where it's like Jaden, like one of those things could happen, right? Like, and all of a sudden that's like an important piece that the Commanders are missing.
I think an underrated part of it though is, under discussed, I should say, is it does long-term give the front office flexibility, because all of these guys are going to be old, retiring, moving on guys who are they're not in their prime. Yes. They're not making prime money, contract money, which means that this most recent draft and then the 26th draft and the 27 draft are going to probably be the three most crucial drafts in Washington's history as a franchise. Because if Jaden Daniels is who we think he is, nailing these next handful of drafts is the difference between looking back on a career where, man, he was so special, but they were never able to utilize or put the pieces around him, or a team that's winning multiple Super Bowls. Like that's
Absolutely.
that's the and I think is, and I know you have them as their faller, and that's not discrediting anything of both of your point, because more likely than not they will. It's just the mathematical fact. But looking long term as a franchise, this is a team that could be setting themselves up to be the dominant force in the NFC.
I absolutely agree. I think that the Commanders have one of the brightest futures of any team within the league. And obviously that's based on Jaden Daniels, but it's also based on this new ownership group and the decision that they've made since that Jaden Daniels pick. And the thing that's underrated about it, yeah, absolutely, dude. But the thing that's underrated about it is that those like old men in NFL, relative to NFL players, what's so great about those is because they create that long-term flexibility you were talking about, but they also, if you can get just enough from them, can put them in situations where they're playing in NFC championship games. And so my point about obviously my point is that they're going to regress. And I do think that in terms of just next season, that they are still going to regress. I wouldn't predict them to make it to the NFC Championship, or definitely not make it past it. But I will say that if they can get one more great season from Bobby Wagner and one more great season out of all of these players, and Jaden Daniels can do what we think, he can do in his second year, which we'll talk about that a little bit more, we're looking at a team that they can almost cheat the system. You know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, we can just like get one quick Super Bowl win before we even really are starting. You know what I mean?
I think the best way to say it would be to snag a Super Bowl win before your Super Bowl window's even open. Like, you just broke the glass. Like, you just punched right through. The window's not open. You just walked through the front door. And we're like, who cares? We're here now. Which
right,
I think you and I, like, you're not picking this, I know this for a fact, out of any malice in your heart. We are supporters of Washington as a franchise. I have some personal love for them because, of course, I lived in Virginia, just out, in Commanders and, Redskins territory for... Whoa, so scary. It's really funny because all of the gear at all of the local sports bar there is still the Redskins. Like, nobody cares. Like, you talk to an old guy and like he just pretends that the Commanders name change, it just never happened. It's really fun. But so I have a little bit of love for them in my heart, and so I for the most part agree with you that they will regress this season, but the brightness of that franchise is greater than it has been at any point in the last 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's insane. The other thing too is just that they, like, not only are they set up for that future, but again, I just think it's so impactful to understand the changes in the leadership and to understand how that almost definitely,
it's effectively a new franchise.
How bad of an owner, listen, how bad of an owner do you have to be the laughing stock of the NFL, sell the team, and in like 1 year make the NFC Championship game? Like, I don't remember his name, but he was, exactly, Dan Snyder. How, like, it's just ridiculous.
There was an Athletic article that came out about, they had some behind the scenes info about like how pissed Dan Snyder is. Like, he wanted nothing but the worst for them, and they just completely ruined last year for him. Good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Screw Dan Snyder.
I'm sure that they did. Good. Yeah, screw you,
enemy
Dan
of the
Snyder.
show.
Enemy of the show. We just said that in unison. We are on the same page. Dan Snyder can
suck it.
Anyway, yeah, he can. He can suck it. I don't know why I felt any
for added emphasis. Thank you, Adam.
Just in the background.
Yeah. Suck it, Dan.
Suck it, Dan. Anyway,
you're like my wingman.
I am. Anyway, another thing I wanted to talk about, though, related to Jaden Daniels, is the dreaded sophomore slump. Ooh, which I think is true, but I think that there's like a logical, analytical reason for it to be the case. What are your thoughts?
Know that I'm a football spiritualist. I believe in the football gods, which means as a term, ultimately at the end of the day, it's whatever, they have in store for us is, the will of the football gods. But generally, more than not, I believe in the sophomore slump.
Just thinking. It would make a lot of sense if, like, Aaron Rodgers was, like, the high priest.
There's a good sketch somewhere in there that we could mine out and write. Oh, man, that's good.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, just like
with a
I don't know, just like smoking whatever he smokes.
Aaron
in the
Rodgers,
cave, just doing like dances or whatever.
just like robe and cloak and like shrouded, chanting in the darkness.
He's like sacrificing his Achilles, like placing it on an altar. That's the price.
He's blessing his Percocets.
We have no.
And we pray that these perk 30s would nourish us and allow us to throw the ball.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, I just you just said the football gods, and I was like, wait a minute. Oh my gosh. Anyway, my thing with the sophomore slump is as simple as when rookies have a really, really good season and they exceed expectations, that, growth is not linear. And every NFL player is going to have ups and downs throughout their career. And, more often than not, those ups and downs happen, back to back, where you'll have a season where, they have an incredible season, and then you have a season where they don't do as well. That there's a reason why there haven't been many NFL MVPs, why there haven't been many teams that have repeated Super Bowl wins, and why we haven't had a three-peat, just because growth isn't linear within the NFL.
I have to do my
change,
responsibility for old Packers fans. Actually, we won 3 championships because we won the last NFL championship and the first 2 Super Bowls. So we did three-peat. Shut up, Packers fans. Shut up.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, I love how you just it's on the mantra of a Packers.
I had to do my dude. I had to do my duty because it's just kind of like that's what they say. So I needed to say it and then immediately be like, "You're stupid and no one cares."
Yeah, shut up.
Even though it's called the Lombardi Trophy.
Anyway, that's a good point. Whatever, dude. All right. Anyway, my point is basically it is as simple as growth is not linear. And so when you have an incredible rookie season, chances are you're not going to have as good of a sophomore season, just because that's not how development works, where you're constantly on this upward trajectory. Your career is going to have ups and downs. And so oftentimes that correlates with the sophomore season of a player, which is why we have this term, the sophomore slump. And so I think that it's incredibly realistic that next year, Jayden Daniels doesn't have a season as good as the Commanders or the season that he had last year. That would not take away anything from my perception of who he is as a quarterback or what I think he can become. Rather, it's just an acceptance of the reality of how growth and development works for any NFL player and really teams for that matter. And so, I think that's an aspect to this.
The one thing I'll add is that for me, the sophomore slump is not a record thing or even necessarily a box score thing unless it's a dramatic drop off. It's a perception thing. It's when a rookie comes in and exceeds expectations, and then going into a sophomore season, those expectations are set at a higher level, which he inevitably 90% of the time is not going to be able to reach. And so in that sense, the sophomore slump is almost an unfair term because it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like suffering from success, where it's like you exceeded expectations your rookie season and now they're being set at a standard that's almost silly to expect. But
like an MVP, for
and so
example.
it's like if Jayden Daniels isn't first team All-Pro next season, then it's like the sophomore slump. Or if he inevitably probably throws for slightly less yards, a couple less touchdowns, and maybe has 1 or 2 more picks, it's like, oh, the sophomore slump, it wasn't as good as his rookie season. And it's like, you're stupid, you're silly, you're dumb, shut up.
They sound like Donald Trump.
You're stupid. You're quite stupid. One of the worst football minds that I've ever known.
Your wife's a whore. I have a terrible Trump impersonation.
What was the context of saying that?
Didn't he say that about?
I don't think he called her a whore. I think he called her ugly, and she called her he's got a dog wife, which is arguably worse.
Okay, well, I took some.
I'd much rather have my wife be called a whore
creative
than
liberty.
a dog woman.
Than a dog.
Show some damn respect.
All right. Well, I was taking some creative liberty with my insults. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, the Commanders. Yeah, I think that overall, them regressing and them falling is just inevitable, but this doesn't have any impact on how I view them long term. Another thing we can talk about, just like a small talking point, last year they were in 12, I believe, one-score games, and they went 9-3 in those games. And so, there's plenty of examples. For example, the Eagles game where Kenny Pickett finished off the game. You have the example of the Bears Hail Mary when whoever that corner was just dancing in the end zone and then gave up the Hail Mary, where it's they went 12-5 last season. That's all of a sudden 10-7. And if they're 10-7, I actually, that's a good question. Would they make the playoffs? Because weren't the Seattle Seahawks also 10-7? And missed it because of that crazy tiebreaker?
It was like the 5th ranked tiebreaker. I think I'd have to go back to their. My guess is that their strength of victory would have probably been high enough to get them in, but I don't know.
Yeah, just
it would be neck and neck. It'd be down to like a 2nd or 3rd place tiebreaker.
The point is that we're looking at if that happens next year,
exactly, yeah, especially. And also, again, knock on wood, we don't want it to happen whatsoever, but it's there's also just the randomness of Bobby Wagner could go down, and all of a sudden, there's not hardly a single redeeming aspect of that defense.
Yeah. And to be clear, I don't have the numbers with me, but basically, if you look at the projections, the PFF projections, which isn't everything, but I do think it's important to understand, at least note, every level of that defense is projected in the bottom 20 of the NFL. I think that their D-line is bottom 28.
I know what you mean, but you wouldn't say bottom 20, you'd be bottom 12. Because they're 20th or above, so you wouldn't say bottom 20.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Bottom, below average to even bottom 10. They're expected to be.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I just wanted to explain for the folks at home.
Screw the folks at home, dude.
They know what you mean. I just need to shut up.
My point. Yeah, true. Speaking of you shutting up, why don't you talk about your team that you think is going to fall?
I'm going to be talking about, drum roll please, Adam.
That probably sounds terrible.
The Lions, the Detroit Lions, after that wonderful intro. Sound production done by Adam Wilkins.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what the sophomore how it fixes that.
No, the Detroit Lions, I'm not outwardly negative about their long-term output, but I'm relatively more negative about them than I am the Commanders in terms of a long-term perspective. The first thing that I want to do, because my theme for this is kind of suffering from success. So I wanted to play the same game with you where we go through the Detroit Lions. And don't worry, I'll give an actual intro this time, Adam. So don't you dare take that away from me. I'm going to do it. Let's pull
Okay, fine.
We're going to be predicting the Lions' record because Adam's a little... I'm not going to say that.
You did that all wrong. Let's predict the Lions' 2025 NFL record. That was
dang it. Stink. I'm the worst at
Yeah,
podcasting.
you just don't have it in you. It's okay.
Week 1 at the no, sorry, because it puts it puts the Chiefs first because the Chiefs are my favorited team. So on the ESPN app, it messes up the schedule. Screw it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live, folks. That do you even get that reference?
No.
You're silly. I should have prepared.
I like how you were gonna say. I like how you said you were gonna say stupid, and then you were like, "Wait, we can't lose our monetization with our 32 subscribers." It said, "Let me say silly."
Even though you've already this episode said your wife's so hard.
It's true.
Week 1, the Packers, the Bears,
Win.
the
Win.
Ravens, the
Loss.
Browns. You had to
Win.
think about that one. The Bengals.
Well, it's because when I said loss, I accidentally put the
The
finger up.
Bengals.
Loss.
Chiefs.
I said,
Win. Come on now. The Buccaneers.
loss.
Vikings. Commanders. Oh.
Loss.
Okay. Eagles. Philly.
Loss.
Giants. The Packers. The Cowboys. The Rams.
Win. I'm gonna say win.
Steelers.
Win.
Vikings. Bears.
Win.
Okay.
I'm gonna go loss.
Even with that loss, so how many did you end up with? 11.
11.
So 11-6, and you
That's
were
not a
and
lot.
maybe you were being overly negative. Maybe someone would come through and say like 12. Even still, last team this season went 15-2 and won the conference. I think with how much harder their schedule is and sort of a return to earth that's due for a team, and it's not even necessarily a prediction of playoff success, but just a record regression after a season of 15-2 is logical. That's now all of a sudden a 3 to 4 win decline. And I potentially think it could be even further, and I'll go ahead and make the case. You ready, Adam? I'm gonna blow your mind.
I'm ready, dude.
Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are gone. It's just a fact. They left, and now you. I don't know why I slipped into Trump there again. They left.
I know. I noticed that too. They were fired.
No, they got their own head coaching jobs. That's what happens when you succeed. Your coordinators leave you desolate and despairing. And now you have Naked and Afraid. Great television program. The new defensive coordinator is a man who has never been a defensive coordinator before. What are you laughing at?
Great television program.
I'm trying to be young and start. Your thumbs up came up again. Your thumbs up came up again. It was a thumbs up jump scare.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Anyway.
So the coordinators are gone, and now you have a defensive coordinator who's an internal hire who seems to be well known or well liked, but it's a complete unknown, first time ever having anywhere near this level of power in an NFL franchise. And then you bring in a new OC, John Morton, who this is actually his second stint as an OC because he was the offensive coordinator for the Jets in 2017. Wah, wah. And then we put a wacky sound effect there. No, no matter what you think of, maybe it'll be better, the roster will elevate them, their team, their internal hires or guys who are familiar with the team, they have an understanding of the system that was in place. there is a clear brain power regression within the Lions as a franchise. At least that would be, it would be more safe to assume that than they maintained or even improved.
Can I say something real quick that I think potentially in a lot of people's mind could be a hot take, but for anyone who has any brain cells at all would just be a
Yeah.
reasonable thing to say? I think that coaching staff is significantly more important than roster construction, and that roster construction rarely ever elevates past a not necessarily poor, but even just a mediocre coaching staff where a high level coaching staff can significantly improve in terms of win
No,
total
and
a bad roster.
obviously we're by no means NFL insiders, but the average person who or NFL fan oftentimes doesn't, and we can be victims of this ourselves. We don't think about how much goes on in a coaching staff. Like, not like you think about I just smacked I just punched that.
It sounded like
I just punched my mic.
That's the noise. That's the noise you make after you make a sacrifice to the football
Boing.
gods. Just
That's
boom.
awesome. No, the amount of because what only ever gets talked about is three guys: your head coach, your offensive and your defensive coordinator, and occasionally on a Sunday Night Football, Chris Collinsworth will give a shout out to a special teams coordinator, and you're like, oh yeah, those guys exist.
Yeah, they're like, his daughter survived cancer. He's a great guy.
And what's awesome about every special teams coordinator is they are all ancient. They are all seconds from the grave. Every single one of them is so old because of 90% of the time, it's just some guy who never got his break as an offensive or defensive coordinator and a head coach. And he's like 85 years old. Dude, they're putting him out to pasture.
He's like the coach from Waterboy. Just like, first you go left, then you go right.
No, it's
and then you think about going.
and obviously we're making a joke because my whole point is that every part of the coaching staff is important. Special teams coordinators are incredibly crucial, but shout out to them, friends of the show. But it's also really funny because all of them are just ancient and losing it and probably slightly senile.
Yeah, they had a consensus brand or a community brain aneurysm whenever they changed the rules.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot. That's so funny. Imagining every special team the news coming across your desk. You're like, shit. I have to completely change everything.
What do I do?
It's so funny. Some 85-year-old slurping cello, getting the updated rules. Some 22-year-old intern slides it onto his desk. Just has a heart attack. Anyways, special teams coordinators are very important and crucial, and we love them. No, the Lions coordinating got worse, and coaching staff across the board, more likely than not, got worse. It's not to say that it can't be built back up to a point where it's better, but just for this season, it's going to be rougher than it was. Then you look at the fact that they have Jared Goff as their quarterback. And I know what you're thinking. They had Jared Goff as their quarterback and just went 15-2. Shut up. Jared Goff is not actually that good. I'm going to break the news to you. The problem is one, he has small hands, and two, he's not very good at the position of quarterback. No,
I disagree.
I'm messing around.
I actually think that he's pretty solid.
The point is, I think that Jared Goff is due for a return to earth because these last 2 years of his have arguably been the best 2 years of his career, depending on how you perceive the Super Bowl year with the Rams and that high-flying Sean McVay offense with Todd Gurley. I don't know how exactly you count that in, but these are 2 of his 3 best years at worst. I think that it's far more likely that he not is like terrible, but regresses to the mean of a tier that I think Jared
Well,
Goff is really in. And that sounds harsh, but I think it's just true.
well, and I think that it is important to note that this is going to be the first season where his offensive coordinator or offensive mind behind his scheme isn't Sean McVay and Ben Johnson. And so, like, this is definitely like going to be a season.
And
that
all due
proves,
respect
like, exactly
to
where
John
he is as a quarterback,
Morton,
I think.
the new OC, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he's no Ben Johnson or Sean McVay.
Well, and I think that part of the reason why he was hired was more of from a locker
Which is
room
fair.
perspective. Like he was previously an assistant coach for the Lions, and he was like a big locker room guy in that team. And I think the idea behind that is that Dan Campbell is going to be taking on a lot of the responsibilities that Ben Johnson had. And so we'll see. That actually, when I say that out loud, it kind of makes me quiver a little bit, just because of some of the, like, if there is a weakness in Dan Campbell's game, it's decision
you
making.
hit on the head exactly. I was just had the thought thinking about, like, what if Ben Johnson was the perfect mind to pair with Dan Campbell, where Ben Johnson is X's and O's,
Right, where it was like
he knows it, and Dan Campbell gets to throw that element of like screw it into it. That just kind of was a perfect blend.
Yeah.
If Dan Campbell has full unchecked screw it powers over that offense, it could get ugly. Like, it could just objectively go really poorly. Think about last season,
like,
how many times they went for it on 4th the most times out of anybody by far, and they had like the second best conversion rate, and it was only second best because of literally how many times they went for it. How, like, can you actually operate in that way with a non-Ben Johnson play caller there, or someone that's at least not as quality as him, which we believe John Morton not to be?
Yeah, have you seen that video of how like the Rams have like the guy whose only job is to make sure that Sean McVay doesn't walk onto the field?
Yep. It's crazy.
That's what Ben Johnson was to Dan Campbell's offensive decision making.
Yeah.
Where he was just like, hey, let's calm down a little bit here. Like, again, this is all speculation,
just,
like, but
scheming
it
up
wouldn't
things
necessarily
that are
shock me.
good enough to make the probability worth it on 4th down. Like, it's also the analytics of not just like the aggressiveness, but also if your offense isn't as efficient, then when that conversion rate goes down, that's a big number. Turnover on downs are a big deal.
I think legitimately that could be the difference between like 2 games last year.
Yes. So if you throw that in as 2 games and then talk about the fact that across the board, I think basically the one upside is now we have a healthy defense and presumably a healthy Aiden Hutchinson. I have more faith in him than I don't. I do need to see it to believe it. Not that he will not be one of the best, but I don't know if he will suddenly have a season that was worthy of his start last season in some people's minds.
Yeah, and like the other thing too, though, is just like, you know, they also did lose Aaron Glenn. And so like that's going to be impactful. And I think that there was a few reasons why they were able to be so competent with such an injured defense, and it was because the primarily of those reasons is Aaron Glenn's ability to create advantages in the rush game without, you know, like all of their starting interior and edge rushers. And like, you know, people talk about how injured the defense was, and there were a lot of players. Primarily it was on the D line. And so the reason I bring that up is just to say, like, we'll have to see, right? Like, what is his name? Kelvin
Shepherd.
Yep. Kelvin Shepherd is their new defensive coordinator. We'll have to see what he can do. And he does, you know, like, Aaron Glenn was his
Oh, yeah.
mentor, and so we'll probably see certain shades
To
of
be
that.
clear,
And
he was the
he was
previous.
also a
He was
linebacker
the
in the NFL, so
linebackers
we'll see.
coach for the last like 3 years.
Yeah. Right. Right. And so like obviously we're going to see like his own spin on things, and we could assume some more health. Spoiler alert though, outside of Aiden Hutchinson and then also like some of the pieces within their secondary and Campbell, they don't have a lot of depth, and maybe I guess you could throw Anzalone in there. They don't have a lot of depth in a lot of these key position pieces.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where it's like
part
half
of the
their
reason
defense,
why that's
it's like a weird thing where it's like half of their defense you love, and then the other half. I just bumped the mic again. I'm sorry. It's too closer to me than it has been before. The position groups that are weaker are also have less depth. You know what I mean? Where it's like
yes,
the
exactly.
weaknesses of that defense are even more made weaknesses.
Yeah, and like there's also a problem when all your guys go down, and then all of a sudden all these guys who are second stringers step up. It's like, well, teams are going to notice that.
Yep.
So they lost a lot of their depth in this offseason.
Basically, to put a cap on it, I think that the Lions are destined for a regression to the means. Now, it's still a quality means compared to the rest of the Lions' history as a franchise. Like, this is still... I'm not predicting that suddenly it's going back to, like, same old Lions or anything like that. The foundation is still somewhat solid. But I think that there could be a level of the next 2 years are a bit of a reloading from the previous 2 years that we just had, where there's legitimate expectations, and going into last year, legitimate Super Bowl, like they were in those conversations. I don't know if after next season and then the season after that, they're going to be in exactly those types of conversations.
Yeah. And one thing that we've talked about in a previous episode, which is pretty interesting to think about, is just like, if they are, all of a sudden Dan Campbell just shoots up the head coaching rankings.
He would instantly elevate to probably my current Mount Rushmore. In fact, let's
at the very least, like
let's
3-4.
We can wrap up our Lions discussion and play a quick game to sort of transition us to our games. Some gimmicky content. Why don't you
save the intro, big boy?
We're gonna don't laugh. I'm about to give my intro.
I don't know why.
Shut up. This is my big moment.
My bad.
We're naming our NFL head coach Mount Rushmores.
Beautiful. That was perfect.
So obviously these are for active NFL head coaches.
There's two guys. Yes, and there's two guys right off the bat. Andy
Those are
Reid,
instantly in there, no thought about it, and they're in a tier of their own.
Absolutely. Then I think the next two, my thought is to think about just like those older head coaches. So maybe like Harbaugh.
So
Mike
the Tomlin one is interesting because I think literally not Steelers fans, like I think half of all NFL fans would instantly put him at the 3, and the other half wouldn't even have him on the Mount Rushmore. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know where I lean. I don't know how much I value Tomlin because, being above 500 consistently is really cool. And he has a Super Bowl win. Like, he's a tier above a lot of head coaches, obviously. But is that enough at this point where we put him fully in that tier 1 or even like the top of tier 2?
For me, I think so. I think part of it is because I'm a Bengals fan.
So you have experience, yes.
But I think the second part of it Yes. The second part of it is that when you look at the Steelers, really since Big Ben, but even before that, the front office has basically done everything they can to work against his ability to actually bring the team into a contention status.
We can consolidate
I think
this whole
that
conversation down to one question. Do you think that the quarterback decisions that have been made are more so the front office's fault or Mike Tomlin's fault? Because no one's blameless, but who gets more of the blame?
I don't know.
Because part of being a good
I
head
don't know.
coach is being able to evaluate quarterback talent, and it has been atrocious.
And what I would imagine, he's more
I
of
know,
a
but
defensive-minded head coach. I would imagine that a lot of those I would imagine a lot of those responsibilities would fall on the offensive coordinator, enemy of the show, Arthur Smith. And so the reason why maybe honestly he might not make my Mount Rushmore simply because of how long he's kept him on the coaching staff.
Yes. No, the final thing I'll say, and then we can actually name our coach, our Mount Rushmores, is Mike Tomlin has at the very least got to fire his quarterback scouts. If he hasn't already, and I know that's considered mean, or
I don't know
details.
the details.
I don't want anyone to lose their job, but who's ever in charge of the scouting for quarterbacks has done about as a poor of a job with only the Browns above.
Okay. What I will say is this: the problem is that outside of making a blockbuster trade, I'm convincing myself he actually should be on Mount Rushmore, because outside of making a blockbuster trade for a quarterback, if you think about the series of events that happened since Big Ben, in the moment, those weren't necessarily terrible decisions. The problem is when you have a head coach that is so good that even with a terrible roster, their floor is a 9 to 10 win season, they're never going to be picking high enough in order to draft the top prospects. And even when they did draft Kenny Pickett, it just so happened that those seasons never fell on quarterback heavy drafts. Kenny Pickett was the only quarterback taken in the first round.
Here's an interesting thing, because the response to that is, then why has Mike Tomlin consistently pushed to win when at this point he should know that accepting a tanking season is necessary? If you were looking at this from NBA terms, I think that you would blame Mike Tomlin, but it's harder in the NFL.
Yeah.
I'll put
That's just not how the
Tomlin
NFL works, because it's only a 17 game sample.
Put Tomlin in there, but let's move on. Let's think about other coaches.
Yeah. Then the other guy we can talk about is John Harbaugh.
I put him there.
I think so. I think that those are kind of my four guys that I'm thinking of. Some honorable mentions include some of the older coaches. So Sean Payton,
I would 100% have
those guys.
I could talk him into being in my 4 spot, Kyle Shanahan. I have a lot of respect for Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, Kyle Shanahan. And I think that, obviously,
but also
not
I
yet.
don't,
because McDonald might be there at some point.
He's responsible entirely for the 28-3 comeback. That was entirely Kyle Shanahan's fault, and that still haunts me. But Kyle Shanahan is a good coach.
I forgot about that. You're right. He's a great coach. Mike, I just want to say Mike McDonald, just so that I'm early to the conversation.
No, you don't get to say that. I claimed that when we were doing our offseason overviews.
Nobody cares. This is the video that's going to go viral.
Everyone needs to know I was on Mike McDonald first. He's the defensive Sean McVay. He literally is. He will be. Maybe not. That's a hot take.
He is. You saw it when he was in Baltimore.
Yeah.
No, I think.
Yeah. He has the chance to be, which would be super exciting. No,
any other
I think
guys?
we named it. So you
other guys that you can think
your
of?
full list 1 through 4.
So I think for me it is Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Mike Tomlin, and John
I would
Harbaugh.
do Andy Reid, Sean McVay. John Harbaugh, Kyle Shanahan. I sold myself on it. I really
Okay,
had to
sounds
think
good.
about that one.
I think
really
that it's
had to-
close. You really did. You really did take a second, but you got to the conclusion you needed to get to. Here's the only issue that I have with. Yeah, maybe I am convincing myself of Shanahan. I guess like
He's also been a letdown in big
yeah,
games,
like
but he also consistently gets to those big games.
he has.
So,
But like he has consistently been a letdown in big games. I guess it really is impactful to me. I just truly believe that if you're a
okay, Kyle
competent
Shanahan
NFL
may be the
franchise,
mastermind
like if you as a
of
coach,
of blowing and falling short in big games. Mike Tomlin has perfected falling short in seasons.
true, but you're right. But it's just impact. I think that if you are a head coach who provides a floor of 9 to 10 wins for a team, that with any competent front office, that should be a team that is in contention more often than it isn't.
Fair. I don't. It's really close for me, but we can go ahead and
I think that yeah,
we
it's just
lock
as
it
simple as
in.
that.
We can have the Mike
can move on to
Tomlin
some more games.
discussion, but it's kind of personal choice. It's your flavor, your taste.
Yeah. Except for the fact that you're wrong and I'm
Okay.
right. But let's move on to some games. Okay, I'm going to share my screen real quick. Okay, so we're going to be playing some games, doing some gimmicky content. Hopefully this makes us go viral so that we can do this, for the rest of our lives. With that in mind, we're going to be playing a little fun game. We are going to be, and you can see my
Yes.
screen, right, Jonathan? Already. So I want you to guess the NFL player using these emojis.
Oh boy.
So we got some emojis, and to clarify, some of these emojis where it's like if you use the word, like if you say the emojis out loud, it kind of like sounds like the name, where some of them it's like
Okay.
symbolism,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So first up, we got these emojis.
A-Rod, Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely. You got it on the
Huge.
first try. Easy money. All right. This is hopefully going to get a little bit more difficult as we go on.
What country's flag is this? Is that Palestine?
No. No. If you knew the flag, you would get it
my flags
immediately.
at all, dog. That's the one part of my nerdiness that I don't have whatsoever. I don't know. I know the USA.
Okay, well, focus on the other emoji then.
Oh, Jordan
Okay,
Love. Jordan Love.
expand.
Huge.
Jordan Love, yeah. Jordan Love. Okay, next one. This one's pretty
Tyreek
easy.
Hill. That's good. That's good.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I do
love
like the baby.
I got that instantly, and I was just chuckling to myself.
Yeah. All right, next one. This one's a little bit harder. This one you have to sound it
I was
out.
about to say Sonic and Knuckles, so it was like a combo, but that didn't make any sense. Rocket Disc? Rock Cat Disc? I see CD.
What? No, it's not.
Give me a hint.
This one you have to the middle emoji is really important. It's less about what a cat and more about something that the cat potentially could do.
To meow?
Okay, what's another word for
purr.
meow? Like what's another?
Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy.
So now sound it out. Brock Purdy. Yeah, the disc is supposed to be like CD, but whatever.
Gotcha.
You got it. You got it. Look at these sweat stains, dude. He was hard at work. All right. This one's
Oh,
this
my
one's a fun
favorite
one.
NFL player, Blueberry Sandwich. He's my goat, dude. Blueberry Sandwich is my goat.
You kind of said the name.
Blueberry Sandwich?
By the way, these aren't just active
Okay.
players.
Barry Sanders.
Yes,
Huge.
absolutely. Barry
Goat at
Sanders, the
this.
GOAT. All right, next one.
Ooh. Uh, Worker tree? Something tree?
Yep.
Worker tree? I'm supposed
It's
to
his
be getting
nickname.
it? Worker tree.
You're saying a part of his nickname.
I'm not getting this.
Maybe you don't know his nickname.
I don't know his nickname, I don't think.
Okay.
What's the nickname? What's the nickname?
The worker. Well, I can't tell you because I would just give it away. The worker is supposed to be representing like a character that is like a kid's construction character,
Oh, Bob?
like a kids show. Yeah.
Bob Tree?
So then say it. Okay. Okay. You don't know the
Don't know
nickname.
nickname.
We're gonna skip this then. This is Bobby Tree's Robert
Dang
Woods. Yeah, you. That's okay. That's okay. This one's a little bit easier. So we got like
Tomato farmer.
describe
Tomato
what you
farmer.
see. Okay, so you're kind of there, but what's like the focus on the second one, and like think of more words you could use to describe that emoji.
I think I might just be terrible at these. I'm not getting this.
Farmer or a
Planter? I don't know.
what's another
What are we doing here?
planter? What's like a way that you would actually say a planter?
Am I stupid?
Yes. Someone who plants plants
Gardener.
is a
Oh, Sauce Gardner.
There you go. I was like, planter? What is wrong with you? How would you come up with the planter before gardener?
Listen, man, at the end of the day, I got it.
Okay, alrighty. This one's good. Oh my gosh. The way you said that, you were like, is that you,
OJ?
OJ?
Are you there?
Are you
Are
there?
you okay down there, OJ?
No. Oh my gosh. All right.
Red gun.
Describe it.
Red
You got to say it
gun.
out loud. Okay. Yep. You are so close. It's a nickname.
Red gun.
Oh, you're on the same path. What's a type of gun?
Pistol. What, rifle?
Another type?
Oh, red rifle.
That is- you
red
are-
rifle.
you're getting
yes,
hot.
Andy Dalton.
Yes. Andy
Huge.
Dalton, the red rifle. All right, we got two more. This one you kind of have to sound it out.
Ant leg. Is it leg? Ant.
No.
So money baby? I don't know.
And what is this?
Oh, Anthony.
Right where I'm circling.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Oh, Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson. Let's go. All right, this is my favorite one.
I got it No. I got it
son.
instantly. I'm just shocked at you. Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster. Oh my gosh, I really
No, I got
just
that
had to, man.
instantly. It's very obvious. It's just caught me off guard.
Juju Smith-Schuster.
That's amazing.
It's pretty clear. Alrighty.
That was good.
Well, I
There
thought
were
that
a
was fun.
There
I
was
think you
there
did
was
pretty
the
well.
one that the Gardner one's going to come back to haunt me.
Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous for sure. Okay. Next, the final thing that I have planned is we're going to be playing NFL Would You Rather, specifically Jalen Hurts edition. And so the way I want to frame this is just like one season next year in 2025, which quarterback would you rather have? So NFL Would You Rather Jalen Hurts edition. The first quarterback is CJ Stroud. So next year in 2025, would you rather have CJ Stroud or Jalen Hurts?
At this point, with the slump, this is already really tough, but with the sophomore slump and a little bit of uncertainty, I think I would have to lean Jalen Hurts. He's just very conducive to winning.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think that, obviously, I think that there's extreme views on Jalen Hurts. A lot of people consider him top 5. I think that's a little bit aggressive for my taste. But he's clearly within the
I'd
top
say for
10.
me, he probably falls around
And
7
honestly,
or 8.
I think if you right, and for me it's about 6 or 7, where it's like, but like anywhere within that range to me is reasonable. It just kind of depends on how your preferences and specifically how you view playoff success and just like winning in big moments and how impactful that is to you on your list, which is completely subjective. And so I think that as of right now, I would consider Jalen Hurts a better quarterback, and I'd rather have him on my team. But it's going to get a little bit more difficult with this next guy, Matthew Stafford.
How much do I have to weigh Stafford's health concern? I think
I think you should weigh it.
I'm leaning Stafford, but I'm very hesitant about the health, that it makes me iffy about saying that. But I think if Matthew Stafford is healthy, I would undoubtedly, I would pretty fairly easily take Stafford next season.
Yeah, I think that for me, I'm in the same boat. When you factor in the question of his health, I personally would take Jalen Hurts. Like, I would still consider them
Jalen Hurts has
to
been
be
hurt.
contenders with Jalen Hurts. True, you're right, but not.
No,
he's not 37,
he's not 37.
and it hasn't been a back injury. So it's more about just like I could see there is a world in my mind where next year Matthew Stafford just isn't. Like it doesn't play or finish
which
the
is
season.
entirely in the cards.
And there might be questions about his career as a whole. And so because of like honestly, I don't want to put this into existence, but if there is a surprise retirement coming, I wouldn't be entirely shocked. I'm just going to put that out there now. The way that the reports have been talking about the whole situation, it's just
wow.
Like
I would have not said it would have been at that level. I'm just as your actual analysis, that shocked me. I didn't even consider that.
Well, just because here's the reason. 1, because of his accomplishments he's already made. 2, because he is up there. 3, because he's a family man, and I think that he is at a point in his career where he would make that choice. That's not a joke.
That's not a laughing matter.
Exactly, and like, that's the biggest thing. I could see. Like, let me just say this. If he comes out and retires, I wouldn't be like, oh man, like he's giving up, blah, 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 blah. It'd be one of those situations where it's like you gave everything you have to this game. Although at the same time,
with some context, I think the closer it gets to the actual start of the season, the worse it would get. Because if you're gonna retire, make that decision. I agree. Either now or earlier. If it's gonna happen this close to the season,
well. What I'm saying is I wouldn't be in basically the way, if I think that there is a way to read between the lines in how specifically McVay and just like how the Rams
maybe they're preparing for it, have
talked about it, that they're already
he's already in practicing, the works. So it's not like he has already be conversations about it. In the competition at camp, all of the first team reps are going to other guys there, and so
yeah. And again, this is not like an official prediction or anything like that. All I'm saying is if it does get to that point, it would be incredibly reasonable for him to make that decision based on all the data that we have currently. And so obviously there will be a group of people who are like, oh, you're giving up, blah, 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 blah. But the reality of the situation is he has to consider his life outside of the NFL for the rest of his life. And this is an injury that can impact that significantly. Like, I guarantee he's going to have surgery at some point. The question is just like, do we put it off and try to endure another season or two, or do we just get it now for like long-term benefits?
Tough.
Okay, so then, yeah, it's tough. Shout out to Matthew Stafford, incredible quarterback. Sorry to be such a downer, my bad.
Is Matthew Stafford about to die?
Just ruin the vibe.
It sounded like he's awake.
The final level, this is just, I guess I'm gonna just say it, Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. Yeah. It's Joe Burrow. I would take Joe Burrow over Jalen Hurts.
I just felt like it's the reason why I included him is just so that people understand that he's clearly in a tier, right? Like, so we have these guys like CJ Stroud where it's like, okay, we would definitely take him above, or Jalen Hurts above him. Matthew Stafford, with the age and the injury concern, like it's a question mark. You lean Matthew Stafford, I lean Jalen Hurts. But then when we get to guys like Joe Burrow in that upper echelon of quarterback, it's like, all right, like this isn't really a decision that has to be made. So yeah, I think it's just an interesting mental exercise to kind of see like, where does Jalen Hurts really land?
A very, very, very good quarterback.
He sure is. Alrighty, guys. Well, I think that's it. Jonathan, is there a player that you want to choose whose highlights we need to watch?
Jimmy Garoppolo, when he was filling in for the Brady suspension. Go watch.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Post-Deflategate, Jimmy Garoppolo starts. Inject that into my veins. Just
and honestly,
proving
just
that
focus
Tom
on
Brady
Josh
was a system
McDaniels'
quarterback all along.
Josh McDaniels was the true GOAT of those teams.
Remember when Jimmy Garoppolo, remember 3 years ago when we were having Jimmy Garoppolo arguments?
It's true.
It was so relevant.
He was. I mean, he led a team to a Super Bowl and then an NFC championship. Like,
he certainly did.
Yeah. He was handsome. That was
what did he do? A Subway commercial? Good for him.
Probably.
Now Subway could sponsor us.
Yeah. Anyway, we're ready.
Jimmy Garoppolo highlights. Like, subscribe, comment, and then go watch Jimmy Garoppolo highlights. Peace.
Yep. See you guys later.